Jat says life sucks being a male. Not gonna lie, because every girl hates on us. My follow-up question to that would be, do you have TikTok? See, it's tough because, like, also I don't know what school you go to. I don't know if you go to a public school, a private school, whatever. I will say this: first of all, every man's experience is going to be different. So I can say like, I haven't had to deal with, too many women hating on me for, being a straight male or whatever. But also have to take into account the privileges that I've had. Grew up homeschooled. It's a massive privilege in that department. Has its pros and cons, but it's a massive privilege in that department. Also went to private Christian school for college, which again, naturally you're not going to have a lot of like raging feminists, at the, at the Christian university. So, for me, I haven't really run into a lot of people who've like hated on me for being a straight male. That said, I know that especially in like secular contexts, a lot of men, they perceive that women feel this way towards them, or if they've had negative experiences with women. I think that there are many things to like take into account. First of all, is that I think the first rule that everyone should consider is that the internet is not real life, specifically social media, and even more so the sphere of like the audio-visual side, right? Where it's like, clips that are from like podcasts or Johnny on the Street interviews. Like, it's interesting because Hasanabi, this is one of the few things that Hassan Piker is right on. He likes to say that like the types of interviews where like they interview like these like really dumb hot women, and they hate on men all the time or whatever. It's like incel propaganda. It's incel agitprop. He's right. There's a whole like line of content on the internet that seems to portray women writ large, particularly attractive ones, as being both dumb but also as hating men. And while I will say that there's something to be said for the claim that in general, like in societies, particularly in public schools, the curriculums and teachers are in a way teaching, kids to particularly women, little girls, to hate men and boys. There's something to be said for that claim, but I think that it shouldn't be overestimated the fact that reality is not often reflected perfectly through social media. I think there was a poll recently. That said that, if you when people were polled, that there's like about like 50 to 60% of support for Palestine among the population of like a certain demographic. But then if you look on social media, you'll see support for Palestine is like at like 85% when you look at who was actually posting in support of Palestine versus who was posting in support of Israel. So it's important to take into account that certain things are just going to be naturally overly represented on social media versus like what's happening in real life. And I think that's in part, intentional, right? To make you think that more people in real life are a certain way than they are, right? So for example, a man may go and scroll on TikTok, right? And see 15 videos of women bashing men and be like, oh, women hate me. All women hate men. And then like, finally decides to go out on a date and the woman rejects him. It's like, oh, it's because, society is against men because women hate men, blah, 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 yada, yada. And then they go into like this negative feedback loop of like believing that all women are out to get them and yada, yada. These ideologies that people are talking about, right, on TikTok, on Instagram Reels and all this stuff, these are things that people actually believe. But not as many people believe them as social media would like you to think, right? It's like the reason why you don't see, nearly as many pro-Israel protests as you see like, pro-Palestinian protests. Because a lot of pro-Palestinians are like Zoomers who like are skipping school or whatever. Meanwhile, you've got full-grown adults, right, who actually have 9-to-5 jobs who support Israel. And what are they doing? They're working. They're not running around, throwing red paint on some walls, right? They're actually doing some legit work. And so then if you also look at rallies, of course, then that's why you'll see Palestinian support overly represented. But the general point is the internet's not real life. So if you think that for you to be a male it's difficult. Yes, there are some realities of how society works, that maybe don't make it the easiest for men. And I understand that there's general negative opinions of men to a degree, but you also have to consider the fact that just because even if society at large doesn't necessarily like men, that doesn't mean that your inner circle where you are or your immediate circle doesn't like men, right? My general social circle consists of church members. There's nobody, and it's not progressive church either. It's just a normal Bible believing church. You're not seeing a bunch of women running around over there whining and complaining about how awful men are, because they're normal, sane human beings. They're normal people, and they have a certain set of values that don't really go along with that agenda for the most part. So it's also something to account. So before you turn into an incel, my little man, all women are not out to get you. It's just the third wave feminists, and even not all of them are out to get you. But I would just say that, don't take the internet at face value. Understand that the opinions that are espoused on the internet are real, but just don't overestimate how many people have them. Before you go up to a woman, don't assume that they are going to hate you for being a man, just because you saw a bunch of women on TikTok hating on men. Talk to the person. Maybe ask them some questions about their value system. And then you'll get a closer idea of whether or not they'll actually hate you or not. Also, I'll just say that it's easier to hate on a man when you're not talking to one. So there's that too. Right? Let's say theoretically you're attractive. I don't remember who you are. But there's someone that you're talking to, and you're trying to get dates or whatever. Right? You're attractive. Even women who hate men will go on a date with a man if he's attractive. Right? That's hashtag pretty privilege, and that's a whole other conversation. We could talk about that.